Hello again, everyone. I've had some requests to swatch the same colors that I swatched on some Stalogy paper for watercolors. And since that video, I actually have added some additional colors to that palette and put it in a little bit of a larger vintage palette in here. So I will go ahead and swatch what I have here, but just note that it's going to be a little bit different. I'll put a link down below to the video where I swatched essentially what's in here, what's in here plus some other stuff is in here now, but that has fewer, if that makes any sense. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started because this is probably going to be a long video given the number of colors. I'm not going to pre-wet anything. I'm just going to go ahead and wet each pan as we get there. And like I said, this is a little vintage palette. I bought this off of eBay, I think. It's really beat up, and these colors were already there, but it does store all this pretty well and closes pretty good on its own. And I just love the little scene here. I thought that was pretty cute. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I will swatch these. Oh, let me see if I can arrange things a little bit better here so that I can put that up there. And let's see if I can get a little closer there and then zoom in. Oh my God, you're getting my really bad cinematography today. Okay, so I think that's as good as it's gonna get for that. And then I'm gonna see if I can zoom in just a little bit. Okay. So I will tell you what colors these are as I go. Here is a preview. This is the new swatch sheet that I made for this particular palette. Just to give you some of the highlights of what I've added some additional Rockwell watercolors. Do I have, yeah, I have the package of the new Rockwell set that I got. This is set 2. This is Charm set 2 in the self-evolving set. So this has Peach Fairy, Lover, Tears, Fall Story, Blue Enchantress, Poseidon, and Landmark. So those are now added to this palette in addition to some handmade watercolors from a company called Dirty Bee on Etsy. I've really been liking them. They have some really great color separating and granulating colors. The only thing that I kind of not necessarily regret, but like noticed is that there's an awful lot of granulating colors in here. But so I made sure I added at least a couple of transparent colors like this Schmincke Helio Cerulean, and things like, the Yellow Lake color is translucent, also is this magenta. But I have an awful lot of granulating colors, but let's see how that goes. So I'm not gonna swatch the opaque white. So that's one of the colors I actually added, but let's start with American Journey French Gray. So French Gray, let's see, it's a little bit of a warm gray, and this particular one is from Cheap Joe's. That's the American Journey brand, is their brand. And I'm going to try and keep these swatches somewhat small. I know I'm going to have to go on to the next page, but I may actually even have to go on to another page. So I want to make sure that I'm not making these too big. Okay, this next one is American Journey Coastal Fog. So these are a bunch of opaque grays that are at the beginning of this palette. And I don't think I have the Stalogy notebook handy that I did the swatches of these on, but like I said, I will put a link down below so that you can see that. The Stalogy paper is very, very different for swatches. This one is Pat's Coastal Blue, and that's also from American Journey. And we're going on to Michael Harding Titanium Buff. Michael Harding, they're a rather new brand for watercolors, and I absolutely love them. They're super creamy. They're really, really lovely. Okay, this next one's gonna take a little bit to re-wet. It is by a company called Iuile, and it is a gold. I think that might be enough there. Yeah, there we go. And it's a really pretty sort of coppery gold. That's kind of my favorite area of gold is when it gets more towards the warm gold color. And the next one is Masha's, which is also another handmade watercolor company, and this color is Sand. And a lot of her colors, including this one, I think, have some really nice granulation. So I'm going to try and add some additional water so you can kind of see that. The next one I have is another handmade brand called Hungry for Paint, and this is Dune. So it's kind of a yellow ochre. Some of these Hungry for Paint colors may be new to this as well. The majority of what I've added is handmade colors. Okay, so the next one is another Hungry for Paint color called The Shore. Again, a little bit yellower. And then I have Michael Harding, which is yellow ochre, so a true yellow ochre here. I don't think I'm going to have enough room for the last three that I have in this row, but I don't want to make them any smaller because I think they're about as small as they should get. This next one is Schminke Chrome Yellow Deep. So there are a few commercial watercolors in here. This one I guess is somewhat transparent as well. Wondering if I should just keep going. I'll just keep going, even though there's only two here. So the rows will be a little bit off with the color organization. This next one is Michael Harding Yellow Lake, which is a really beautiful, warmer yellow. And then we have a vintage Rembrandt Naples Yellow Light. So I purchased some vintage Naples, or I'm sorry, some vintage Rembrandt pans not too long ago, and this is one of them. It's a really interesting color because it's much lighter than any other Naple yellows that I've seen. This next color is a Roman Schmal. It's Naples Yellow Reddish. Really pretty color. And I kind of debated whether I should put this down in this other row or up here because this is the start of a new row in my palette. This next one I actually have some blue in there, so I have to watch out. This is American Journey Apricot. But yeah, the reason why I ultimately decided to have this be the beginning of the row is it did kind of go well with the apricot and have more of a reddish tone there. And this next one is an older pan from the company Dirty Bee that I bought a long time ago. And it's such a beautiful pink. It's called Petal, but I don't think it is available anymore. The next one is Colors of the Iron Range, which is a handmade watercolor company that I don't think produces anymore. I bought these a long time ago, and then I went and checked it out the other day, and I didn't see that they had any watercolors. So, and I can't remember if the website was like not even working or, but anyway, that happens to some small makers sometimes, I think. But it's a beautiful potter's pink. It's one of my favorites. But you could get the same potter's pink in other brands. This next one is Isero Powdery Pink, which is another one of my favorite pinks. Kind of like these dustier pinks, but then I still do like some brighter pinks, which we'll get to here. This is Da Vinci Portrait Pink. And this is starting to get more into the slightly purple vein. And the next one is very bright. It's another American Journey color. It is Flamingo Pink. I need to add some more water to my brush there. Flamingo Pink. Oh, and the brush that I'm using today is a Princeton Kolinsky Sable. It's a round brush in, what's the size, 4. And I'm not even sure that they make these anymore. I think I purchased this off of Zulily a long time ago when I think they might have been not making them anymore. So, and I just had it at my desk, so that's what I'm using. Okay, so this next one is Opera Pink by Michael Harding. And I have been a little bit more lenient with getting fluorescent colors into my palette. So that's why you see that. This next one is a Michael Harding again. It's magenta, which is like a super intense magenta. You really would not need a lot of this if you're going to be mixing. And even if you're going to use it straight, you don't need a lot of it because it's very, very pigmented. And then the next one I have here is sort of an oddball. It is a Daniel Smith gouache in Pyrrole Red. So you can see it's pretty opaque because it is a gouache. I've been loving their gouaches, by the way. But again, I don't necessarily always use them as gouache. Okay, and the next one I have in here is a Daniel Smith Pyrrole Red. Oh, no, oops, let me make sure I didn't skip. I skipped one. So this is actually Pyrrole Red, but I was going into the next one there. This is Pyrrole Red by Daniel Smith. And the next one is Perylene Scarlet by Daniel Smith as well. So this is a little bit more orange compared to that last one. It's a little more red. And now I have Daniel Smith Quinacridone Sienna. I suppose this is a transparent paint. And like I said, so is this one, but it's just so heavily pigmented that it's hard to get it transparent, I suppose. So this next one is M Gram Quinacridone Gold. Ooh, this one seems kind of thick. I think I put too much on my paintbrush. And because this is a home palette, I feel fine putting M Gram in here. If it were a true travel palette, I probably would not put M Gram in here. Okay, and then this lovely, lovely color is Rockwell, or Rockwell. For some reason I thought that was the wrong name. Rockwell, and this is Magic Wizard. And I am going to add a little bit of water here to the end so we can see how that granulates, because that is a really beautiful orange. So I don't have my overhead light on today because it is just too hot to have the overhead light on. So I think the natural light that I'm getting is fairly good right now. So hopefully that allows you to see it good. So this is a relatively new color from Rockwell that I just got, which is Peach Fairy. And like that other one, I'm going to add a little bit more water so that we can get some color separation, I hope, going on. And I'm going to put these up close to the camera at the very least at the end, so you'll be able to see that. Sorry for my reach there. This particular one is a little bit harder to re-wet. This is also a Rockwell color. It is called Morai Witch, and it has a pretty good sort of black granulation in here. So again, I'm gonna water that down a little bit. And the next color is by Deep Deep Light, which is a lovely watercolor company I think they're in Latvia. And the women who run the company are so sweet every time I order from them. And I just really, really like ordering from them because, like I said, I like encouraging good people to make money. All right, and then we have yet another handmade watercolor company called Masha's. This one is called Dark Planet. I just added a little bit more water to this one because you can actually get a really nice, you can get there's actually some yellow in there once it separates, which is really, really pretty. Okay, so the next one is Dirty Bee Purple Sunset. And this is a fairly, oops. This particular brush doesn't hold a lot of water, so I have to make sure that I pay attention to that. So that was Purple Sunset, and that'll have some really cool color separation here too. Then we have sort of a, you know, regular color. This is Daniel Smith Rose of Ultramarine. And, you know, looking at this now, I would think that I actually should have switched these two, but when this dries, it shows up much more purple. You can kind of tell a little bit now, but I didn't want to arrange it based on the color that it is when you first put it down, but on the final color. Okay, and this other one is a new Rockwell called Lover Tears, and this one does have some shimmer in it. Their shimmer colors I find tend to be a bit lighter on the page, but they're really pretty. And then the next color here is Schmincke Cobalt Violet Hue. So this is not my typical cobalt violet color. Usually I prefer something a little more in the pinks here, but I actually did remove, oh, see, you can see all that beautiful yellow developing in there. But I took it out in favor of a different color. I can't remember which now, but I figured I had enough colors that were similar to that, and it's another granulating color. Okay, so this is another handmade watercolor company called Dshali, and this color is called Sleep. There we go. And then I have a Da Vinci color, which is Joyce's Mother Violet, which has some lovely color separation there too. Maybe I should just call this my special effects palette because there are so many different colors. Yeah, you can continue to see both of these developing, and this one gets so interesting. That is Masha's Dark Planet. All right, and then here I have Daniel Smith Lavender. For whatever reason, I didn't add wisteria to this, probably because I think this one is sort of similar to wisteria. That's the Portrait Pink by Da Vinci. So I didn't feel like I needed to add it. Okay, and then we have Schmincke Ultramarine Violet, which is a really lovely purplish blue and has some great granulation. And then I have another Masha's color. This is Turquoise Violet, which, I put it on kind of heavy. I do want to, again, let the color develop because you get some really nice turquoise tones in there. And then we're on to a new row. So I have Daniel Smith Neutral Tint, which I consider their neutral tint to kind of be in the purple family. It's not very obvious that it's purple, but it definitely has a purple cast to it. All right, and then the next one we have here is Masha's Granite. And as with all of her colors, you get some lovely color separation. Well, I should say most of her colors, you get color separation. Because, I mean, look at that. That is just an amazing color right there. And you can kind of see how this one became more purple, but it's still developing and it will still turn even more purple. And this next color is kind of hard to describe. It is Ruby Mountain and it's called Twilight Purple. So it's a purple pigment and then it has a turquoise, like a little swirl of turquoise on the top. So depending on where you get your pigment from in the pan, it could be a little bit more turquoise or it could be a little more purple. I think I got a little more purple this time. And the next one is Da Vinci Artemis, which is another lovely color separating color. It's like a more intense version of Moon Glow, I would say. You can hear the loose pan running around. This is a Rockwell color, and sometimes their colors really do dry very hard in the pan. So this is God's Back by Rockwell. I'm actually surprised at how well I am able to re-wet these without wetting them first. So so far so good. All right, and then this next one is another Rockwell called Cosmic Sound. And this one's a little darker, but again in the purple family. But some of these, again, I'm gonna have to get some more water in here so you can see how it develops. And oh, you can see that. So that's that Ruby Mountain Twilight Purple. So you can see the little bits of green in there. And okay, so we have one more Rockwell here in a row. This one's Lapis Brown. Even though it's called Lapis Brown, it does have a large amount of bluish purple. Okay, so I did end up touching touching that, so we're going to have a little bit of bleed from the prior color, but you should be able to, it shouldn't take it over completely. The next one I have here is Daniel Smith's Sodalite, which is a really lovely sort of Payne's gray-like color. Sodalite. And then I have another Rockwell color called Deep Soul. And this one, we're heading more towards the darker blues here. And okay, so the next one is another newer, to me, Rockwell color called Blue Enchantress. And there we go. And then Daniel Smith in Danthrone Blue, which is a really nice, warm, deep blue. And then I have Michael Harding Ultramarine Blue. Ultramarine blues I find are so different company to company. Sorry, I'm getting a bunch of text here. You can just ignore that. It's nothing important. And then this next one is Schmincke Cobalt. What is it? Cobalt Deep, which I find to be very similar to Ultramarine Blue, but is a little bit different in its tone, as you can see here, and is a little bit more granulating usually. Actually, let me add, I think I got way too much pigment on that one. Okay. And I'm starting a new row in the palette here. This next one is Deep Deep Light Blue Jay. And this is one of my favorite colors from them. It's really beautiful. It really shines with a lot of water. So I'm gonna, oh my goodness, people. People are just texting and texting and texting. Okay, so that was Deep Deep Light Blue Jay, and then I have a Da Vinci. Let's see, what is that? I think it's Indigo by Da Vinci. And indigo colors are really some of my favorite tones. I love indigo and Payne's grays that lean blue. I love those. Yeah, as you can see with this one that bled into the other, you can still see the other color separating there. So it didn't completely obscure it. So this is another Rockwell color called Angel Eyes. And this one tends to be a little bit harder to re-wet, although I didn't have too much of a problem this time. And it has some iridescent in it, so it does tend to be a little lighter than some of the other colors. Then I have Daniel Smith Prussian Blue, which is a really lovely, oh, looks like I have a dog hair or something on my brush. This is Prussian Blue by Daniel Smith. And then I have a bunch of blues in the cerulean family coming up. So this is Michael Harding's, oop, and it re-wets really easily, as you can see. This is Michael Harding's Cerulean Blue. It's a really beautiful blue. Then I have Schmincke Cerulean, Helio Cerulean, which is a little brighter, and a transparent color, because I do need some of those in here. But it also mixes really well with a bunch of different colors. That's one of the reasons why I want it in here. And then the next color is, I think it's the only Old Holland one I have in here. So this is by Old Holland, and it's called Manganese Blue Extra. I don't know why they put extra. Some of their colors have the extra moniker, but I'm not quite sure what that means. Extra pigment, maybe? I don't know, because they are very pigmented. Okay, we're approaching the end of the page, so I need to lift it up a little bit. Okay, that was Old Holland Manganese Blue Extra. And the next one is Daniel Smith Manganese Blue. Which is a lovely blue by them. And then I have Schmincke Cobalt Azure. So these are all pretty similar, but I feel like they're different enough to have them in the palette, and I love them all so much. And okay, so now this is another new one that I've gotten. It's by the Dirty Bee Handmade Company, and they're on Etsy, by the way. And this is Zirconium Cerulean. Oops, it's a very dry color. Zirconium Cerulean, which is one of my all-time favorite blues, at least on the lighter end. It has really nice granulation. I don't think I found a brand that I didn't like. Okay, so this next color is a Ken Bromley watercolor color. Ken Bromley is an art store in the UK. I don't order from them too much because their shipping is kind of crazy high. But whenever I do order from them, I try to, you know, get everything I was going to order so that I don't have to do it again for a while. This next one is Michael Harding Cobalt Teal. Those Michael Harding colors are just amazing, guys. And then I have a Daniel Smith Ultramarine Turquoise, which I believe is also a transparent color, so good to have that in there as well. And then I have another Ken Bromley color, which I'm not sure if this is the actual name of it. I'm calling it Dark Teal, but I think it might have had a different name. Just the name wore off on the side of my pan, and I didn't go look at my tube. Okay, so now we're moving on to a different row in the palette. It looks like I will be able to do this on 2 pages if I keep it the same, keep the swatches the same size. So this is one by Hungry for Paint called The Shallows, which is sort of a lovely light bluish teal. And then the next one I have here is by Dshali, which is a brand I love, and it's called Danube. And this one has some lovely color separation. And then I have Schmincke Ocean Gray, which was a limited edition for them. And it's just a really pretty bluish green gray. All right, so now things are gonna have to get a little bit tricky because I'm gonna have to open this, and I think that'll be okay. All right, so let me move this down so you can see the top. Where was I? Ocean Gray. Okay, and the next color is Masha's Iron Blue, which is one of my favorite colors from her. and it has some lovely like reddish tones when it dries. This next one is Hungry for Paint, and it is a color called Agave. Some of these are kind of similar, but they're really pretty. All right, and after Agave, I have Michael Harding Forest Green. Oops. I think this is the one Michael Harding color that I've had a little bit of a problem re-wetting, but I mean, it's not terrible. I've noticed that my circles are bigger, but we'll see. I have fewer rows. Let's see if I can make it. Okay, the next one is Rockwell Poseidon, which is a really beautiful, mostly green, but there's some blue in there. I actually replaced Daniel Smith's Prussian blue with this because I felt like it had a lot of similar color to it. Okay, this next one is Daniel Smith Kingman Turquoise. That's a Kingman Turquoise Genuine pigment. Oh, and this next one, I have to pull this out to see what the name of the brand is because it is an Italian brand. And I only just recently got some colors from them. So it's called Della Magna, and this is Cobalt Green Deep. They really do have some lovely colors. It was a company that I had not heard of until recently, but they had some of the old quinacridone gold pigment, which now I'm blanking on the on the pigment number, but they had the original, which had been discontinued for forever. And so I bought that and then bought some other colors, and then I ended up putting the quinacridone gold into other palettes because I got two half pans so that I would be able to try it. All right, so this next green is Rembrandt Dusk Green, which is a really nice deep green that has, again, some black granulation because I think it's PBK 11 that's in here. Rembrandt has some really beautiful dusk colors, which I'm sure I've profiled on the channel before. This next one is Rockwell, and it's called Tree Sprite. This is another really pretty one. You can see these colors are all kind of similar, but different enough. Okay, the next one is Hungry for Paint, and it is called The Deep. Okay, needs a little more water. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I had, okay, so it's just one less. I think we can deal with that. All right, and this is the last one in the row in the palette, which is Schminke Perylene Green, which I find to be a really beautiful dark green. That this one doesn't actually have granulation, but, or at least I don't think it does, but it's really pretty. And now we're going on to some lighter greens. This next one is Sennelier Yellow Green, which is really bright. I kind of wanted to have some brighter colors to break up the dark colors so that I can kind of mix and brighten up some. And the next one is another bright green. It's Sennelier Green Yellow. So basically the opposite of that one. That was yellow green. This is green yellow. And this next one is a newer color for me from Rockwell called Fall Story. And I think this one was recommended by a viewer. And I kind of put it on my list and waited because I didn't want to put it in order at that time, but I did put it on my wish list. And I got a coupon from Rockwell. I think it was through Instagram. And then I ended up getting that set. Okay, so this is Michael Harding Hooker's Green, which is like the most beautiful Hooker's Green I think I've ever seen. And next I have a color by Jackson's, aka Jackson's Art Supply. And this is called Permanent Green. It's kind of an odd permanent green. It's more like an olive green, but I really love it. Okay, then I have Renaissance Chrome Green. So Renaissance, they're hard to find, but you can find them on Etsy. See, it's very similar to the last one. It's chrome green. In fact, eventually I may end up replacing one of those. Where am I? Chrome green. Okay, and then I have a Daniel Smith. This is Green Appetite Genuine, which is just a lovely granulating green by Daniel Smith. Really, really nice. And then I have Renaissance Green Gold. So not to be confused for Rembrandt, this is Renaissance Green Gold. And I went through like a green gold phase. I think I'm kind of going out of that phase a little bit, but still like it. So now we're moving on to Hungry for Paint, and this color is called Shrub, which I think I had swatched a sample of this color on the channel because I got a dot card of it, and it was just super pretty. So I put that on my wish list. All right, so the next one is Rockwell Opal Yellow, ooh, which is very green. I guess that got me a lot of color there. But this also does have some good color separation, so I think I'm gonna try and show that a little bit. Okay, so now we have American Journey Ward Jean's Dusty Green. Okay, and this has become one of my all-time favorite greens. It's just really, really versatile, and it does have some nice granulation and color separation, but it's really nice for things like leaves if you wanted to have a varying color. Just really, really pretty. The next one I have here is Hungry for Paint Yucca. I think this was in along with Tumbleweed over here as sort of a desert set. And then the last one on this row in the palette is Hungry for Paint Algae. And okay, just really pretty, kind of like mucky algae. All right, and then here we have one of my favorites, which is Isero Chartreuse. It's kind of like a green gold, but as you can see, it's fairly different. It's a little bit lighter. And then I have Masha's Tiger's Eye, which is again similar, but we've got some, if I can get it to show here, we've got some pretty good color separation on this one, which makes it a little different. And then I have Hungry for Paint Sunrise on the Road. These are kind of all variants on yellow green, although this one's a little more brown yellow, I would say. And okay, so now I have some commercial brands. I have Rembrandt Raw Umber. This was just kind of filling a hole in my palette. I didn't feel like I had a brown like that. The next one is Holbein Burnt Umber, which is my favorite burnt umber. Or one of my favorite burnt umbers. And actually, their burnt sienna is really nice, but I didn't put the burnt sienna in there because I do have a Michael Harding burnt sienna, which is a very yellow burnt sienna and very strong. And then this next color is super lovely. It is by Dirty Bee, and it is Rustic Copper. And this is one that changes a lot after it sits. So let's see what we can get there. Next we have Rockwell Elf Wings. Okay, that one's a little hard. This one broke up in the pan pretty seriously. Once it dried, it got very crumbly. Okay, that's Elf Wings. And then I think this is the lone Winsor Newton. This is Winsor Newton Kaput Violet, which is a really lovely earth purple brown kind of color. And then I have Michael Harding Indian Red. And this is a very strong color, so I didn't want to dip too hard in there. And the next one is Schmincke Perylene Violet, which is a really lovely color. Pretty sure this one is also not granulating, but it's just such a beautiful tone. And then I have kind of an oddball in here. I have Prima, which is a student grade paint, and this is their color Budapest from their travel palette. I just really love that color. And then this other one is a new one from Dirty Bee for me, and it's called Magma. And this one also has some really cool, I think, again, black separation. And it really does kind of look like magma. Oh, but you can go back and see, this one is the Rustic Copper. It has this lovely color now that it's separated. And that's that Masha's Tiger's Eye. All right, so I'm starting the last row. This next one is, did I say tumbleweed already? Well, this one's tumbleweed. What was, oh, because I'm out of order here. It's getting harder for me to tell which row I'm on. So this one was shrub. And this one is tumbleweed. Okay, I might have gotten those two wrong when I said what they were. This next one is Hungry for Paint Rustic Gray, which is a very warm brown gray. And then I have Masha's Tree Bark. We're getting down to very earthy colors here. Tree bark, and this has some nice separation too. Then I have Rembrandt Sepia, which I only had in a pan, and I bought a tube the other day from Jerry's, I think. And then I didn't realize I'd ordered two tubes. So I've got a lot of that. This next one is Roman Schmal Manganese Brown. Roman Schmal has a lot of really nice browns. This is just one that I thought filled a hole here in the color progression. And this next one is another new one to me, which is Rockwell Landmark. Sort of a reddish brown, which is really pretty. And what's next? I have Daniel Smith Bloodstone Genuine. Oh yeah, that's good. For some reason I didn't think I had enough water. So that's Bloodstone Genuine. And the next one is Hungry for Paint Coffee Stop. This is one that I have to really be careful not to put too much pigment down because it is really heavily pigmented. And when you just put a ton of pigment down, it looks very black, but it actually has more nuance than that. Okay, and then this is Jackson's brand Payne's Gray. And then I have Hungry for Paint. Oh, I'm gonna have to move this back and forth here. So this is Night Drive. night drive. And then the next one is Daniel Smith Zoisite Genuine. So this is a really lovely sort of greenish gray granulating color. And yeah, next I have Davies Gray. I can't remember which brand this is. It might actually be Old Holland. But these are very, very similar, and I might end up replacing one of them just because they are so similar. And then last but not least, this one is a little bit of a hard one to re-wet, so I'm working on that a little bit. This is Hungry for Paint Twilight Sky, which when that dries has some really lovely color separation too. All right, managed to do it in 2 sheets. I'm gonna take the pan that I just swatched from, or the palette that I just swatched from, and move it away so that we can go back and look at some of these colors now that they've dried. Let me actually zoom out just a little bit. So here is that Dark Planet by Masha. Is really, really pretty. And that was the, what color was that? That's the Purple Sunset by Dirty Bee. So you can see now that it's dried, it is very purple. And it kind of fits in that color progression. Just lovely colors. Yeah, so many lovely colors in here. And this is that God's Back, which is hard to see the color separation if you paint it too dark, but here is some really lovely, lovely color separation showing. The Da Vinci Artemis didn't actually separate too much. I think I needed to add more water to that one. But really, really pretty colors. Yeah, and you can kind of see, oops, and it's not completely dry. That's why it hasn't. It has a really nice blue undertone, this Twilight Sky from Hungry for Paint. But anyway, all of these colors are really super beautiful. I did this because I'd had a few requests for doing, for swatching this palette on regular watercolor paper, because the paper that I had swatched them on before was the Dshali paper. And I have to say that when I did the Dshali paper swatches, some people kind of flipped out. Like they were, and it's not my idea to swatch on Dshali paper. I actually got the idea from Iuile Landgraf, who has a YouTube here on, a YouTube channel here on YouTube. But some people just freaked out. They were like, this is too much water. This is a totally inappropriate paper. And I was like, look, it's just to have fun, guys. It's just to try something new with watercolor. So I got at least 2 comments like that. So apparently I freaked a couple people out. But hopefully this this will appeal to the masses. Here is that beautiful magma color by Dirty Bee. I really do recommend that you check out Dirty Bee. Her shop is on Etsy, and there's some really, really interesting colors on there. All right, well, that's all I had for you today. It's a very long video today, so hopefully that was entertaining. And if not, you can always fast forward, you know. If you would like to keep track of future videos on my channel, please subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I hope to see you next time, but in the meantime, have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye.